How much longer will this united front of the players' union stay united as bills pile up, as cars get repossessed, as they begin to get kicked out of their apartment complexes? How much longer until the 10th, 11th woman on the roster? How long they can hold out? Many players can't afford to wait indefinitely. WNBA's active rosters in 2025 are participating in Unrivaled. That the players in Unrivaled, they don't really care about the other.
The image is pristine, powerful, and meticulously curated. A united front. Across social media, in coordinated statements, and in the overwhelming 97% strike authorization vote, the WNBA Players Association presents a wall of solidarity. They are disciplined, locked in, and speaking with one voice, a collective force ready to seize a transformative moment for a league whose financial ascent has finally, seemingly, arrived. It is the picture of a union at the peak of its leverage, armed with historic public interest. A generational star in Caitlin Clark, driving unprecedented.
Article by the Sports Business Journal. Talks between the WNBA and Players Association have stalled, and the union's, quote, upper hand at the bargaining table is slipping as soon as the players will be faced with the question of how long they can hold out, according to Adam Minter of Bloomberg News. It is a necessary but dispiriting thought, considering that the
revenue and a righteous cause after decades of underpayment. This is the story they want the world and the league to see. But behind that imposing, unified facade, a different, more fragile reality is thrumming with anxiety. It's a reality of spreadsheets and countdown clocks, of mounting bills and silent phone calls from landlords. It's the sound of a car being repossessed, the ping of a bank account alert signaling an overdraft, the quiet dread of an uncertain future. The league is staring at a problem nobody in the union wants to say out loud.
Caitlin Clark showed up and they suddenly had some leverage in their pocket. Publicly, the Players Association is presenting a united front, but the outward appearance masks a complex private reality. Many players can't afford to wait indefinitely.
A fissure that threatens to crack the foundation of their stand. Financial pressure does not land evenly. And as the clock ticks toward a potential delay or loss of the 2026 season, the very concept of unity is being stress-tested in the most intimate and brutal of ways in the individual bank accounts of the players themselves. The negotiations, by all reports, have stalled. According to the Sports Business Journal, the union's perceived upper hand is slipping, not due to a misstep in strategy, but because of an inexorable force, time. The league's most recent offer, while publicly framed by the union as insufficient, represents a seismic shift from the current economic.
Unrivaled provides a lens for understanding the divide. This season, 54 top WNBA hoopers, about a third of the WNBA's active rosters in 2025, are participating in Unrivaled. For them, Unrivaled and its big paychecks of roughly $220,000 for an 8-week season are a nice cushion.
Structure. The proposal includes a maximum base salary soaring to $1 million, potentially climbing past $1.3 million with integrated revenue sharing. The league is offering roughly 70% of its net revenue over the life of the new collective bargaining agreement, CBA, with a salary cap starting at $5 million in year one and scaling upward. For a league where the base salary has languished and stars once had to play year-round overseas to make ends meet, these numbers are not trivial. They are a testament to the growth the WNBA has finally experienced. Yet, the union is holding firm for a different paradigm. Their proposal centers on a share of gross revenue, specifically 30%, and a salary cap of $10.5 million. This is not a minor negotiating point. It is a fundamental philosophical divide. Gross revenue is the total income before a single expense is paid. Arenas, travel, staff salaries, marketing, and league operations. A share of net revenue, which accounts for these costs, is the standard model in professional sports, including the NBA, where players receive about 50% of basketball-related income, BRI. The union's demand for a cut of the gross is, in effect, a more aggressive stance than that of their vastly richer NBA counterparts. It is a demand born of decades of pent-up frustration, of watching from the sidelines as other sports ecosystems flourished while they scraped by. It is a push to claim a piece of the top line, ensuring their share is insulated from the league's operation.
Weeks away from delaying season. Despite releasing the schedule earlier this week, the WNBA likely needs to agree to a CBA by February to start the season on time. The WNBA wants everybody to believe the 2026 season will tip off on May 8th. It asserted as much with an announcement of a 44-game slate and a statement that explained in part the move was to allow, quote, essential planning to begin. The reality of where collective bargaining agreement negotiations stand paint a different
decisions and costs. The question haunting the negotiations, however, is whether this push is for a transformative deal or a perfect one, and what the pursuit of perfection might cost. Because while the negotiation is being fought over percentages and caps, the actual battleground is the financial resilience of 144 rostered players, and that resilience is wildly, starkly unequal. The new, women-led offseason league has been a godsend for the WNBA's elite. Approximately 54 top players, roughly one-third of the league's active rosters for 2026, are participants. For an 8-week season, they can earn upwards of $220,000.
into something better. But remember, Breanna Stewart yesterday said, "Oh, they're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel." How can you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you liar? Yeah, whatever. In that proposal, the union is seeking a 30% share of the league's gross revenue and a salary cap of $10.5 million. The league's latest proposal includes a max base salary of $1 million, which would increase to more than $1.3 million with revenue share. The league's proposing roughly 70% of its net revenue over the span of the deal. The salary cap would be at $5 million in year one and would grow in
$1,000. This is not just supplementary income, it is a financial airbag. It is patience, incarnate. A player with an unrivaled contract can view a prolonged labor stalemate with a degree of equanimity. If the WNBA season is delayed or shortened, Unrivaled can potentially extend its run, offering continued high-level play and a steady, significant paycheck. Their lives, as one agent put it, stay comfortable. The pressure point for them is abstract, about principles and long-term gains. Then, there is the other two-thirds. For the role player, the 10th, 11th, or 12th woman on the roster, the economic landscape is a different planet. Many do not have massive endorsement portfolios. They are not on Unrivaled's roster. Their financial reality is the WNBA's $80,000-ish base salary, and for some, that may be their primary annual income from basketball. They are the ones who, as veteran Natasha Cloud has alluded to, often feel forgotten in these high-stakes financial debates. They live in the completely different world at the end of the bench. When the paychecks stop as they will if the season is delayed or a lockout ensues, these players are the first to feel the vacuum. There is no $220,000 cushion. There is only the grim arithmetic of fixed costs. Rent or mortgage, car payments, student loans, insurance, groceries. These obligations do not care about union solidarity or gross revenue shares. They are merciless and perpetual. As one observer noted, bills don't pause. Car notes still hit. Rent doesn't care about union votes. This is the hidden fault line. The 97% vote for strike authorization sounds formidable.
In the middle of free agency, front offices will also be preparing for the 2026 WNBA draft, currently held April 13th. The league has never lost games to a work stoppage in its 29-year history. The next 2 weeks will be an indicator of whether its 30th season will be the first time it does. If the deal doesn't get done soon, might not be a lockout, it might not be a strike, but at the bare minimum, they're going to need to delay the season or start chopping some games off. Instead of a 44 game, it'll be a 38 game. They missed the first 6 games because they push it back 2 weeks. They mixed the first 10 games because they push it back a month.
But it was a vote cast in a moment of collective resolve. How does that resolve hold when the 12th player on a team is staring at an eviction notice? How does unity feel when the 10th player can't make a loan payment? The strength of a union is ultimately measured not by its most insulated members, but by its most vulnerable. And the league's strategy appears to be, consciously or not, to apply the immense, silent pressure of time directly onto that vulnerability. The league's actions or lack thereof speak volumes. Reports indicate that as of late January, the league had not formally responded to the union's core proposal, which was submitted before the Christmas holiday. This radio silence through the new year creates a chilling dynamic. While stars like Breanna Stewart express optimism about seeing light at the end of the tunnel, the lack of a negotiating counterpart creates a vacuum filled by anxiety. It is a passive-aggressive form of leverage. The league, backed by the deep pockets of the NBA and a longer corporate timeline, can afford to wait. It can let the calendar creep forward, knowing that with each passing day, the financial strain on a significant portion of the player pool intensifies. This waiting game has catastrophic logistical consequences. The entire offseason is in suspended animation. General managers are paralyzed. They cannot plan for free agency, which is typically in full swing by January. The expansion teams, the Toronto Tempo and Portland Fire, are trying to build franchises from scratch but cannot operate without the rules of a new CBA, particularly regarding a proposed core designation, similar to a franchise tag, that would dramatically shape their expansion drafts. The 2000
and they'll say, damn, we're not really united anymore. These girls fractured and they don't agree with it anymore, and they're kind of starving, and they need to pay for this, and she needs to pay for that. And let me know what you guys think in the comments.
26 draft is scheduled for April 13th, with training camps slated to begin on April 19th. The league has announced a 44-game season, set to tip off on May 8th. This schedule is an assertion of normalcy, but behind the scenes, it is a house of cards. Insiders suggest that to even have a semblance of a normal free agency period in early March, a deal would need to be finalized by early February. We are now at that precipice. If a deal is not struck imminently, the dominoes begin to fall. A delayed free agency compresses the expansion draft process. A delayed start to training camp compromises preparation, and ultimately, the league may be forced to do the unthinkable: postpone the season or shorten the schedule. A 2-week delay could chop the season to 38 games. A month-long delay could reduce it to 34. The WNBA, in its 29-year history, has never lost games to a labor stoppage. Its 30th anniversary season is now in jeopardy of being the first. This potential loss is about far more than missed paychecks for players or lost ticket revenue for owners. It is about momentum, a fragile, precious commodity the league has spent years cultivating, and which exploded in the 2024 season. Caitlin Clark's arrival was a cultural tsunami, driving record ratings, selling out arenas, and transforming media coverage. The league finally cracked the mainstream consciousness in a sustained way. But momentum is not a permanent state. It is a wave that must be ridden. A delayed or disrupted season is the quickest way to dissipate that energy. Casual fans, newly won over, will find other entertainment. Sponsors, wary of instability, may pull back. The narrative would shift from "the WNBA has arrived" to "the WNBA is in disarray." This is the existential gamble at the heart of the union's stand. Is holding out for a share of gross revenue, a principle they believe is non-negotiable for true equity, worth risking the very platform that has given them this leverage? For the star with unrivaled money and 7-figure endorsements, the calculation might be yes. The risk is abstract, the potential reward historic. But for the end-of-bench player, the risk is terrifyingly concrete. Lose your apartment, your car, your financial stability, all for a fight over accounting principles that may never materially benefit you in the same way. A jump from $80,000 to $250,000 in base salary would. This dichotomy breeds a quiet, corrosive tension. The public unity masks a complex private reality. As one blunt analysis put it, the players insulated by unrivaled money don't really care about the other 100 players across the league. This may be an overstatement, but it highlights the inherent conflict of interest. The fight starts to feel less about collective uplift and more about pushing the ceiling for the top, using the collective sacrifice of the many as a bargaining chip. When the 11th woman is stretching groceries because savings are gone, her commitment to a cause that primarily benefits the franchise-tagged Max player will be tested. The league is undoubtedly aware of this schism. Its offer, while not meeting the union's gross revenue demand, is strategically crafted to appeal directly to that broad middle and bottom of the roster. A $1 million max is a headline grabber, but raising the floor through a significantly higher base salary and a revenue share that lifts all boats is what would change lives for the majority. The league is essentially presenting a deal that offers immediate, substantial improvement for the most vulnerable players, juxtaposed against the union's framework that fights for a different, if arguably more equitable, long-term structure that benefits the stars disproportionately. So, we arrive at the crucial, unspoken question: how much longer can this united front stay united? The solidarity vote was 97%. But unity is not a static number. It is a living, breathing condition that degrades under pressure. What happens when it slips to 90%? To 80%? To 65%? There may not be a revote, but the whispers will become conversations, and the conversations will reach union leadership. Agents will start getting frantic calls from clients who can't hold on. The leverage that comes from a disciplined, unified front begins to evaporate when it becomes clear that the discipline is fracturing from within. The coming weeks are not just about negotiating points. They are a brutal race against the clock of real-life economics. Every day without a deal is a day the league's passive strategy gains strength, allowing financial pressure to silently undermine the union's position. The true battle is no longer just at the bargaining table in New York. It is in apartment complexes across the country, in the minds of players doing the math as they look at their dwindling savings. The players absolutely deserve a fair share of the value they create. Their fight is just. But the history of labor negotiations is often a story of perfect being the enemy of good, of momentum lost in the pursuit of total victory. The WNBA's moment is now. The offer on the table is the largest in league history by a staggering margin. Is it perfect? No. Is it a foundation from which to build? A deal that would materially improve almost every player's life while the league continues its growth trajectory? Arguably, yes. The next 2 weeks will reveal the character and resilience of the union, not in its public statements, but in its private endurance. Will the stars be able to subsidize or support their less fortunate peers to maintain a unified line? Will the role players hold firm, believing the long-term gain is worth their short-term pain? Or will the unbearable pressure of reality force a compromise? When the season schedule was released, the league stated the move was to allow essential planning to begin. The most essential planning happening now isn't for travel or marketing. It's in the quiet, anxious calculations of players wondering how much longer they can afford to fight for a better tomorrow, when the bills from today are already piled high on the kitchen table. The league is betting that, eventually, those piles of bills will speak louder than any unified statement ever could. The players' response to that bet will define the WNBA for the next decade.